for years and years. It's not over the simple Torah. This is the power behind it. This knowledge is what makes them able to do the things they do. This knowledge is what makes the Ark of the Covenant operate. It's what makes universes be able to be destroyed and be able to be created. This is what all those sages knew they could make. They could literally change the properties of matter.
I understand that. Let me ask a question. This is what made the ark work. So it was understood before the ark was made, all this.
Absolutely. Now, real quick.
When was it in the tents of Shem that they learned that? Or was it wasn't after the Torah was given? He said this is the hardest part. If we get the foundation.
It starts with Adam. And it was given to Noah. And Noah gave it to Shem. And Shem gave it to Abraham, and Abraham wrote it down in the Sefer Yitzhak.
Okay, it started with Adam.
This is all. This is all the teaching of Adam.
Before he ate the grapes.
Well, it wasn't grapes, but.
Well, I just read in a Kabbalah book of
Well,
it was grapes, that it wasn't an apple.
All right.
Rena says it's wheat.
Okay. It is.
It is grapes. It is apples. It is wheat.
Why?
It's the fruit of the earth.
No.
Depends on what level you're on.
No, I will explain. I will explain that for you.
I understand that.
I will explain it for you right now. Okay?
What's yours?
Because you need to get a handle on this. Now, this is. We're going to say.
Which I didn't know until he told me.
This is the tree.
This is the Sefer.
You ready? This Sphirot is the tree of. This is the Ot.
Is that understanding?
The Ot is knowledge.
Knowledge.
The Ot is knowledge. Now, Guvarot is always constriction. It's always feminine, and it's always power. And it's always red, and it's always blood, and it's always wine. It is always...
Okay, I understood all of it until you got to wine. Why wine?
Because wine is what color?
It's red.
And always grape, and always wheat. Those things are considered the nature of Guvarot.
Okay.
All right? So, if I read Adam ate the grape, true. If I read Adam ate wheat, true. If I read Adam ate Guvarot, true. If I read Adam looked to the red, true. You see how all those things mean the same thing. Now, here's what happens. This is the good, and this is the evil. This is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That is what we're studying. What did Adam do? Adam brought the two sides together before Sabbath. And that's the bottom line. They weren't ready. They were unstable. They weren't ready to have union or knowing or knowledge. The light was unstable, still at this point. And that's what we're reading, that's what we're studying here about God emanating His light in the form of 72, 63, in the form of the formula Yud He Vav He.
Is it a stronger light? Is that basically the differential?
The light, it's getting weaker as He's emanating it out. But the container that He's putting it in still can't hold it. It's still too powerful for the container.
You're right.
Okay? So what Adam did here, again, was put the light in before the container could really contain it. And it blew up.
So he hadn't gotten to Peter yet to get the mind of God.
Well, no, he had that,
He
but
predicted it.
but prematurely, one day too soon, before Malchut could actually establish itself. And we're going to go through that today. Before Malchut could actually establish itself, he joined the lights. And when I say he joined the lights, he, Adam, she, Eve, joined together, and therefore caused an imbalance and a disruption in the light.
Blew a fuse.
It blew a fuse. And the whole thing, unless you know this whole thing, and you don't have to know it like I know it, but unless you know how the system works, I learned today out of the voice of the Leshem, you cannot know tikkun. You cannot know repentance because you don't know what you're doing. Just like the Omer. How can you say you're doing repentance when you have no idea what you're even reading? See? So, the key to repentance.
You don't know why you're reading.
Yeah. So therefore, what are you repenting? You know, which path? Yes, God understands the thing, but God also understands He's got you in this class. He's teaching you. So you know. Because you're gaining knowledge. You're gaining the union. You're understanding what has happened to the light. And that's what this entire class is about, is what is going on with the light. What is going on with the light from the Ein Sof. And he makes his garments. And in his garments, it's Yud Hey Vav Hey. It's just him and his name. Out of the emanations of he and his name, we studied there's twin messiahs. Joseph and David in there, right? Josephic messiahs, Davidic messiahs. Metatron is a part of that. And the whole angelic structure. All right? The Nakash, the serpent, is all a part of that. What was the fourth thing? Anybody?
You had Metatron, you had the Nakash.
The Davidic and the twin messiahs, and there's one more. Look on our chart if somebody's got it. But anyway, and all these are garments of light. And he's emanating the letters.
This chart?
No, the one I put on the board, let me look at my phone.
I want to say I haven't printed those out.
Yeah, that one right there. Give me that one right there.
Yep.
Leviathan.
Yeah.
The two Leviathan. Remember the class on
That's
Leviathan?
different from knocking.
Nakash?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one formula and there's 4 parts. But they're all the same thing.
What's the difference between Nakash and Leviathan?
Nakash and Leviathan?
Evil inclination, is that Nakash?
No. One is the upper hay, one is the lower hay. It's a part of the formula. One is the upper hay and one is the lower hay.
Okay, one's in the spirit, one's in the flesh, sort of.
Well, but at this, nothing
Level.
exists. They all exist as one, yet it's four parts of the formula. You know, and we went
The
through
formula that,
the
This
formula
is
of light that God's creating the world with.
This is all like an idea in God's mind.
Yeah, all we've been studying is his thoughts. That's all we've been studying. We've been studying this whole sheet to get to Adam Kadmon is his thoughts. But every time God thinks,
something happens.
something happens. So what we have been studying is the layers of God's thoughts as it happens.
Can you give a little bit more of all those formulas? Just tell me a little bit
Okay.
more about that,
All
because
right.
I don't want any details,
Okay.
just an overview.
All right. Just let's take an overview on in bet on the formula 72 or Ab. Okay? This is God's name, correct? Yud He Vav He.
You're getting too detailed. I just want a forest view of what all of those are about.
Well,
Why is it that you need to know it's 72 or 63?
because 72 stays in the will of God. 63 starts in creation of Bina. 45 is V6. And then finally, the 52 name formula is down here where we are. And what I'm doing is I'm showing each permutation of God's name, each ray of light, and where it stays and how creation comes out of the light. And so I'm using each formula. See, this one is wisdom. This one is understanding. This one is formation. And this one is action. This one is wisdom. This one is understanding. That's the tree of the knowledge of good, wisdom, and evil, understanding. The 6 midot, the 6 in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the ma. The ma. This is where formation, because formation is in Yesod. Yesod, the Evan Shtia, where the rock in Jerusalem is. That's where everything was formed. That is the formation.
That is, meaning the place? When you
The
say
actual place. Adam was formed from that exact spot. That's why Noah went to pray there. Abraham went to pray there and sacrifice there. Richmond even went over it. Abraham called it a mountain. Isaac called it a plain. And Jacob called it a what? A house. It's the same spot. Those are code words for the Evan Shtia.
Is that where it opens up into heaven?
That's the exact spot.
Heaven comes down through
That's
that.
exact
Is it a
spot.
gate? Is one of the
It's
gates?
stairwell.
Exact.
It's a stairwell.
That's the
Huh?
Jacob's
yes.
stairwell.
Jacob's stairwell.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And that is right here in Yesod, and the world is Malchut. So everything, this, and if this line right here, we are hanging on by a thread to that very spot. That's why they set the Ark of the Covenant on that spot. So what we are doing in this class is we are learning how it all came to be. And then what we're going to do is, as we read through the Torah, the written Torah itself, you will see how each one of these men are a certain coordinate on this map right here. This is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob.
Is Hesed, is Abraham?
Abraham. Guvarot is Isaac.
Okay,
Teferet is Jacob.
okay.
Now, real quick. Esau, what color was Esau?
Red. Evil.
You see how the code works?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say he was evil. They just said he was red. But unless you knew red and gray, what happened to Noah?
What happened to him? He lived.
What happened to him? How did he fall?
Oh, he drank.
On what?
Wine.
See the code? He got too far into Guvarot. Constriction.
No balance.
There's no balance there. And it fell again.
It, meaning,
Creation.
okay.
See how the code's working?
You use these pronouns and I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, we're always talking about Adam and creation. That it's either Adam and creation, synonymous terms. All right.
Okay.
So when we say it fell, it collapsed, creation, and everything that we know today, whatever it is. So Netzach is Moses.
Moses, okay.
Hod is Aaron. Yesod is Joseph. And who do you think the last one would be?
Me.
David.
David, oh.
So look what we have here. Look what we have. Remember, we talked about the twin Messiahs, Messiah ben Joseph and Messiah ben David. They're connected. They are connected. What you're learning is the formula to plug it all together and make the Torah come alive and have sense. That's what we're doing.
Okay, that's the formula.
That's what we're
To
doing.
make Torah
Yeah,
understandable.
yeah, to understand the Torah. You just read it and you go, well, man, that was a cool story.
Or not.
Or it's mundane like Genesis 36, and this king lived, and this king lived, and this king lived, and this king died, and this king did.
Yeah.
Well, why would they even write that? Because it is so specific in the formula, and it all deals with this.
It's really Cliff Notes.
So,
What is it?
Well, Cliff Notes is like it would be an outline of something. The Torah is an outline. This is the rest of the story. But how do you read the story?
Yeah.
How do you read the notes?
Yeah.
This is the formula he's talking about. Is the formula how to read the
How
notes?
to read the Torah.
You have a book of Cliff,
Okay.
and this is
Okay, that's the first time I've understood what Kabbalah was.
yeah, it's how to understand Torah.
Okay.
Because like we're going to get into.
See, I thought it was how to live life.
No.
Okay.
It's how life is made.
Well, I guess it would depend on which Kabbalah you were.
Yeah, this is not
Like
this.
school.
This is not the California Kabbalah. This is the Kabbalah of the Arizal, the Gaona Vilna, the Leshem, the great Rabbi Akiva. This is their stuff. This is the stuff. This is Moses's thoughts. This is what Moses was doing.
So California Kabbalah is like New Age.
Yes, it's all how to just be a good person.
Okay.
Do something nice for somebody today. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
once you learn what's really going on, you're
Once you
more inspired
learn what's
to be
going
nice.
on, it will
Yeah.
change. Yeah,
Yeah.
it will change you once you learn what's going on.
Yeah, it will change you inside like that. But you have to know the secret to understand the simple. And we read a story in the Torah, and we say, simple story, but we really don't understand it. Because why? We don't know the secret behind it. And this is learning the secret, and this is and that's why the Gaon says you can't know the
Chad's
simple
here.
until you know the secret.
Yeah. So stay with this class, because this class will transform your thought. And when we get to Rosh Hashanah and we start plugging everything in of what's going on at Rosh Hashanah, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to. When we start learning what's going on at Yom Kippur, it's going to blow your mind.
Well, I won't go into any detail, but in the last 3 days, something's happened, and I have a love for my landlady, which if you've known me very long, you know that's a miracle. And I have a love for my mother, and I saw she was right from the very beginning, and I didn't listen. And, I mean, I reconnected with my mother.
That's great. That's great. That's a huge mitzvah in Torah and all that. And,
And it was to what, Teshuvah, wasn't it?
yes, that's absolutely is Teshuvah.
On both accounts, but I didn't have anything to do with either one of them. They just kind of fell down, the light came down on me.
And when, I went to Richmond's deal the other day, listened to Richmond, all right? And Richmond comes from a very halakhic, legalistic background, all right? But if you listen to his talk, it was very Kabbalistic.
That was one. Yeah.
And Rena's was too.
Very Kabbalistic. Now, because I'm going to pick a couple points in that.
For an example.
For an example.
Okay.
He's saying that the Ark of the Covenant, were you there? The Ark of the Covenant, the poles
Yes, that was so neat.
were sticking out of the curtain like breast.
Yeah.
But then he comes back and says, but the Ark can't fit inside there.
Yet all the nation.
No, he said the peoples, all the peoples.
No, he said the art.
He said the Ark, the dimensions of the Ark,
Oh,
it
that's
won't even
right.
fit in there. So over here Over here, as you learn this, you're going to get it. Over here, he says the ark doesn't fit in the Holy of Holies. And over here he says the ark fits in the Holy of Holies, and it makes breasts with the staves poles that carry it. And then over here he goes on and says that 3 million people fit inside the poles.
Yeah.
Now, either he's lost his mind, or all three are true.
All three are true.
How?
Well, was one of them the upper and the other was the lower?
As you go up the ladder, when Jacob comes up the ladder and becomes Israel, remember our last deal where I had a Tika and a Reek, and then I came down and I said Abba Ema, and then I came down and I said Zeronpim breaks up into Jacob and Israel, and then the Nukva, this is the Malkuts, the Nukva, and it breaks up into Leah and Rachel. Once Jacob and the nation becomes the nation of Israel, they have elevated themselves to a total different dimension above this earth. The night of Passover, everyone in Egypt who was participating in the Passover Seder was at the Even Shtia for the Passover. How did they get from Egypt to the Even Shtia back to Egypt in 24 hours
Without leaving their house.
without leaving their house, and then they had to walk there for 40 years?
Well, because they just went through in the
No,
spirit.
well, but they were physically there.
Translative, as we would call.
Once, it's all about elevation. Rabbi Richmond talked about the bottom level. That ark was in there. This level, the ark won't fit in there. This level, all the nations will fit in there. I mean, the nation of Israel will fit in there. Guess what? In the world to come, the entire world will fit in the ark.
The 73 nations?
Yeah, well,
72
70 plus 1 plus the value 72 plus Israel 73. It doesn't matter how you count it, but it's 70. It's 70. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's 10 sphirot and the part suf in each of them, 70. So that's how you can get 70. Or it's 7 plus the 3 is 10. 7 times 3, 70. Plus the nation of Israel, 71. There's lots of way to count it, and I'm going to show you a way over here that we have to count on the ear. But that's beside the point. Everything will fit. And why? Because what we are learning is we are not outside of God. We are in the center of God. And that's the key. We are in the middle, not on the outside. So it will all fit.
Because he'll take one of those big,
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, so, all right. We'll get started on the class now. I'm going to go try to call Stacy, see where she's at, and we'll get started.
I was going to stick out this month, and so he was explaining why we needed to understand the why.
Hey, Russell,
Yes, sir.
So that
I
we
had
could
to step
understand
away for a moment. What was he talking about when he went to Rabbi Richmond's
What was the first thing you said? We have to understand the what?
lecture? Can you reiterate that? I missed it.
Well, he was talking about how, Rabbi Richmond's lecture, even though it was, it seemed to be a very simple level, it was very Kabbalistic, and what he was saying is Rabbi Richmond gave 3 scenarios to to where the Ark of the Covenant was. I mean, what was going on out of it, and each one of those things were true, but it was in each different level as it goes up. In one level, the ark fits in there, and on the next level, you know, in the first level, the ark doesn't fit in there, the second level, the ark fits in there, the third level, the,
Other way around. First level it fits from
Yep.
curtain to curtain. The second level it doesn't fit at all. Right? Oh, sorry.
that's the way
All
I,
right.
but that's what he's talking about, he's kind of,
I'm gonna turn that off before it starts.
did it fit in, how did it fit in the tabernacle? But that was the same thing, the tabernacle was the dimensions of the Holy of Holy and everything in the tabernacle was the same as the temple. And so,
Is that corollary because it was in the tabernacle, but it wasn't in the second temple?
it wasn't, well, when it wasn't in the second temple, that was a, you know, there were certain things that wasn't in the second temple. I think Richmond said there was 3 things, and but the reason it wasn't in there is because it the Shekinah wasn't in there, and so that.
Because most of the people didn't come back, they were all in exile. So the Shekinah can't be where exile exists.
Right.
She is in exile.
There wasn't enough of them that came back. He only said there was like what,
42,000?
42,000 out of, you know, and all the rest of them stayed in Babylon. So that small amount did not allow the Shekinah to return. So the ark didn't, you know, the ark didn't return.
Oh, they didn't have a minion, huh?
They didn't have a minion, and probably so. And I think that goes along with a lot of what's going on with Israel now, because now for the first time in a very long time, there's more Jews living inside the land of Israel than they're living on the outside. And any time in history where you find that to be, you find some pretty amazing stuff start happening. And that's what's going on now. That's why, and the reason being is why? Because more Jews live in the land than live outside of it. So now they do have the you know, the minion is, so to speak, is there. And so I think that's why we're seeing a lot of the events in history that we're seeing, even as it progresses, you know, even through, you know, as soon as the you know, the return started. I mean, it was supposed to start in 1802 with Rabbi Hillel, but everything was being held off. And but you know, World War II and all of that stuff come in there, and as they started coming in there, then you started seeing all this stuff happen, the '67 war and all of the things like that. And each stage of that happens, more of the Jews' population return. But there's still a lot of them that are not returning.
You ready?
Whenever you're still in class, I'm just,
All right.
as well.
All right, we're ready, John.
This one, I'll mute myself and listen.
All right.
All right, ladies,
You ladies ready?
let's go.
Okay. Up until now, we have been building Adam Kadmon, or Ak. All right? So what I did on the board is I took my big red circle that we had originally built Ak right here, and I moved it over here. All right? Because now what we have to do is we have to build the world of Akudim, or the world or the universe, Olam, Akudim, or the world of bound. Kadmon. I misspelled it. Kadmon. This means primordial man. Kadmon. Adam Kadmon means primordial man. So what we're studying is the primordial worlds. Now, we learned from the last lecture that the lights of the ears of Ak emanate the Sog. From last lecture, what I did is I wrote up here on the board Ab and Sog and Ma and Ben. These are the Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey formula names of light.
Where's the crown?
The tip of the Yud, the crown of the Yud, never comes out. It's always loftier.
okay.
It's always retained. So if the Ein Sof retained something, he retained that portion of the light. All right. So we had we learned that the agulim, the circles, was the nefesh, and we learned that the yosher, the lines, were the ruach. These are the levels of the soul. And if anybody wants to look at the levels of the soul, I have them written right here: nefesh, ruach, neshama, chayda, yahida. Right here. This would be. Where's my red?
Did you say there are lines of emanations? Okay, coming down?
The circles were the agulim from last lecture, and the lines are the yosher. And these eventually become the circles, the agulim become the spheres, and the yosher become the lines that connect them and make a sphera. That's there. In other words, in the world of Ak, the lines and circles are contained within one another. There is no delineation, and so it's very unstable. That's why he has to make a kudim so they can start interconnecting with each other, communicating, and trying to form balance.
What color were the sheep in Akudim?
Well, there's the spotted, the speckled, and the striped.
And all three of them, or is Akudim a specific one?
No. There's the story of the sheep is the story of Akudim, Nakudim, and Barudim.
Right.
The three primordial worlds of creation. And the first one is the one that is the banded or the bonded ones. Sheep. Okay? Where everything is touching. Because the sheep were symbolic of the world where everything is singular. Everything is touching.
Everything is
The spotted sheep was at Nekudim, which we'll get to next week, where it all goes whoosh, and there's little dots everywhere. All right, and so this lesson from the lesson that he gave today, the lesson gets into that very detailedly. So what I want to try to do is get you guys some CDs of that burned, so that y'all can hear Rabbi Bax. I may just, if I can figure out how to try to email it, I will. How
What is Rashom?
the Leshem is the top student of the Ari who wrote the Zohar. All right, the Leshem is his top guy, right? No.
No, he didn't. First of all, he didn't write the. He didn't write. The Leshem is about 1800s. He is a very big rabbi. He's a renowned rabbi, but he was of the 1800s, and so he's a little bit more modern. And I'm not exactly sure who he was a student by, but he was but he was in the transmission of all these very big rabbis. And
I'll have to go back.
we have to. You can go back and look at the history on, which I read a little bit on it a while back, but he's about in the 1800s, and he's a very big rabbi that done the works that.
And the Ari is Luria.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's 1500s,
Oh,
and
stop.
his top student was Chaim Vidal,
Heimdall, yeah, which is what
which is what he's coming out of.
which is what he's coming out of, and this is the work of Chaim Vital that we're reading.
Of who? Say it again.
Chaim Vital.
Chaim Vidal.
Vital.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where because I've been reading this and I knew he was the
I'll
art.
tell you what it.
So,
it gets
but
all-
anyway, that's whose
They're all the
work
same,
we are
just
reading.
generations
We're
apart.
studying the top student of the Ari.
Right.
We're studying his stuff, is what we're studying right now.
The line.
All right. But anyway, I have to figure out how to get that stuff to y'all because
Okay.
it is, to me, it's mind blowing, mind opening because, but if once you know if he's talking about Father and you stick Abba in there and you say, and you hear where he says it doesn't mention his father, well, you know it's because Abba doesn't come down. The first thing is Sag, mother.
What do you mean it doesn't come down?
Alright, I will explain it like this. Once a man and woman have union, and the woman is pregnant, does anybody care anything about the father anymore? He's completely out of the picture. Once he emanates his light, now all the attention is turned to her, because creation then is her responsibility. So once the father has emanated his light and done his job, he's removed. He's basically out of the picture. Everything is left to the mother. Everybody comes up and says, well, how much longer do you have? Well, you're showing, well, you're this, you're that. Nobody looks at the dad and goes, oh, well, how much longer do you have? You're showing, unless they're doing it and poking and fun. So
How's your wife doing?
yeah, so really, all of it goes to them. Now, once the wife has the kid, the dad is a kudim. The mother is going to be nekudim, which we're studying next week, and the baby is going to be berudim, or Genesis. That's why all the focus is on Genesis, because the baby is Adam.
And nobody worried about the mama because they're all worried about the little baby.
Yeah, and nobody's worried about the mama anymore because everybody's worried about the baby. And so that's where the story begins.
And that's what Nekudim means.
Yeah, well, Nekudim means points or spots. All right? And
those are the three goats.
And yeah, and so what happens is whenever the sperm hits the egg, what happens to the egg? It starts to go spots. It starts making more spots. It goes, and that is the Big Bang.
That's Akudim. Yeah, that's the little pinhead that's spinning very fast, and that's going to heat up and explode. But that at that stage is Akudim. Correct.
Yeah. So right now,
because everything is together.
Right now, if you look at it, we have Ak, all right, and we're going to look at and Ak contains father, mother, daughter, it contains all the light, 100% of it. Now, if you look at Ak as a spermazoa, where all the information of the father is contained within that one thing, that's what a kudim is. All right? It's all the information, it's all the information of the 72, the 63, the 45, and the 52 names. It's all the formulas are in there. It is the tanta, all the sounds, the vowels, the crowns, the letters are in there. It is Leviathan. All that stuff is everything that is. It's called the Yesh Ma'im. We studied all that is. It's something from nothing. It's all the things that were in his thoughts.
All possibilities.
All possibility. That's a great term.
Yes.
It's because it hasn't been actuality yet. It's all the possibilities. And what God is trying to do is figure out how to get it to manifest itself to where his light doesn't just explode it. And that is the creation. Destroy it. And that's the creation of Adam Kadmon. That's why it says that God has been creating and destroying worlds. And that's what he had to do to get to us. That is the whole 974 generations of Nekudim, the primordial worlds, the worlds of the dinosaurs, the worlds of the Nephilim, all those different things. And he still created and destroyed the world all the way up until the time of Noah.
Okay, everything you said resounds, except when you say that he destroyed all these worlds like he didn't quite know what he was doing.
No. Death is a lower case of life. All right? We look at death as terminal velocity ending. But if you take a pecan and put it in the ground and it dies, it makes a tree. So every time it went out, and it died, so to speak, it was able to create another layer.
Okay.
But
Okay.
but it existed in a lower form
Each time.
each time. When we die, we're going to be put in the ground and we're going to die, but guess what? We're going to take on another form.
A lower form means less light?
Means less light.
Okay.
Because without it, we couldn't exist. You know, we couldn't even exist.
And with too much, we couldn't exist either.
Right. It's the parable of the sun and the moon. The sun is Keter. The moon is Malchut. The moon has no light of its own. It is lit by the sun. Okay? The moon is Israel. It is lit by God's light. That's one of the things that you... So, back to our lesson today. What we are going to study is how to make a kudim. Here we go. The lights of the ears of Og emanate the Sog of Sog, of his Tanamim. Alright? In other words, the initial revelation of light outside Og comes forth from Binah, which is Sog. So it's coming from understanding. We have wisdom and understanding. 72 is wisdom, 63 is understanding. Although the light of the ears emanates essentially the sound of the letter and not its form, nonetheless, its form exists, although it's not yet in concrete configuration. The letter Hey, I have the letter Hey written up here at the top, is actually formed by combining two letters, a larger Dalet and a smaller Vav. Together, the Dalet and the Vav equal 10. Dalet's value is 4, Vav's is 6, equals 10. The full number of the Sphirot that's going to manifest in the 5-part suit. So, the first emanation of Og comes from his ears. Remember we talked about last week the Shema, to hear the Torah, hear God? That's because the first emanation is the Sog out of the ears. And it's off of the Hey, because it's Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, off of the Hey. And because it's off of the Hey, it's feminine. And because of the Hey is 10, how many commandments do we have? 10. That's why. The first emanation was 10. There's 10 Sphirot. It's all working off that formula. So, what I drew up here, this is the right side. This is the left side. Because anytime you're looking at the Sphirot, you're looking at its back, so to speak, where this is always right, this is always left. So, we have this AS Maba Asmab always exist throughout. So, Ab stays, Sog emits out. The Or Makif and the Or Pinimi. The outer light, the inner light. Pinimi is the inner light or the light of the soul. Remember last week I wrote down here Or Makif, the surrounding light or the body. The Or Pinimi, the inner light or the soul. Remember that from last week? Alright. So what God is doing here is He is creating the world of Akudim. Is what He's doing. However, the power of intellect of Binah, Sog, alone is not enough to form Bin and Malchut. Because Malchut, He's trying to form Malchut. The whole thing is about forming the world, Malchut. Therefore, the light of the right ear and the light of the left ear give rise to the force, the or makif, the or pinimi, two different aspects of light. With this initial revelation begins the process through which the force of form and body and soul will unite, thus creating life in the form that the Creator is designing. God, the Creator, is the Ein Sof, His true force of existence. He is the true force of existence. Creation to God serves as His form through which He is perceived and He becomes known. Thus, the relationship between the Ein Sof and creation is one of force and form, which is body and soul. It is as above, so below. The process of the revelation of light outside of Ak was for the sake of creating a relationship with His creation. To continue this process from within Adam Kadmon had to descend further away from its ultimate source in order to give rise to the next step of spiritual evolution. In order to bring this force, this Or Pinimi, and this Or Makif together as one light from within Ak, Adam Kadmon, descends beneath his ears and again manifests itself outside of Ak. This time, it will manifest itself from his nose. So, first he went from his ears, now he's going to go from his nose. Similar to the light of the ears, the nostrils are separate. You have two, right and left. Therefore, the light emanating from the nostrils is also united as one, although their union is much closer in the nose than in the ears. What he's saying is, because the ears are out here, the light is two separate things. They're really not in one thing. One's going to make it the outer portion of Ak, one's going to form the inner. But the nose, even though your nostrils are right and left, they're pretty close. So the light is literally touching itself, forming, and has unity. Alright? In order to understand this, we must again pierce the veil of Kabbalistic metaphors. As we learned, the name Sag corresponds to the ears. Sag corresponds to the ears, the Sphirot Bina, which represents the conscious, intellectual, and thought. That would be understanding. However, though, thought alone does not have the power or ability to manifest the physical or tangible reality, which is Malchut. Just by thinking about something does not make it happen. The power of the mind, be it the supernal mind or the mortal mind of man, is full of numerous thoughts and is always in a state of flux. Not every thought is acted upon. Not every idea is turned into reality. Before one can manifest it into action, a necessary link must connect the two. This is the heart. So, I drew a heart right here on Teferet. See that little heart? And the heart is a part of the middle six, the Midot, which is the Ma. The Ma is the next level of light, the Memhe, the six in the middle. He's taking his wisdom, and he sent out his understanding in the form of Sag of the ears, and now he is sending out the formation from the nose. Let me ask you a question. And he blew into his
Nostrils.
and he became a
Living being.
form.
Yeah.
You see how Adam is created just like the rest of creation was created? So, we're starting to put it together here a little bit. The heart, be it the supernal heart or the heart of a regular man, is in reference to the motivational power of his emotions. This corresponds to the six middle Sphirot, Hesed, Guvurot, Teferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. The heart is also represented by Ma. It is this name that corresponds to the nose. For the lights of the ears represented Bina, the supernal mind, cannot alone manifest and merge between force and form. Therefore, a heavier force must motivate the lights to merge. This is the force of Ma. At this level, symbolically represented by the nose, that manifests motivation and power and emotion together. This is why, through the Tanakh, the word anger, or af, is the word for anger, is also the word for nose. Can also be used for the word nose, because it's part of emotion. Emotions are associated with the nose. Did y'all know that? All your emotions are associated with nose?
And your nostrils flare when you get angry.
Ah, that's perfect. That's
And
it.
if you see in the spirit, it's somebody that's really angry, you can see fire coming out of their nose.
Yeah, and all the cartoons, they have the bull with the smoke coming out of their nose. The nose is anger. We can see it. You see it iterated in today. All right. Let's see. Another thing I broke down the deal on the Tanakh. If anybody wants to, do you know why they call it the Tanakh?
Oh. Sort of.
I don't know, it's the writings,
Yeah, it's hold on, I got it for you.
It's the prophets.
It's like
writings.
one of those acronym things.
Yeah, it's the writings, the prophets, and the,
All right, the Tanakh. See, in Torah,
Yeah, it's the
everything's an
Torah.
abbreviation.
Yeah.
So is the Tanakh. The Tanakh, the T, it stands for Torah,
Torah,
which is the 5 books.
the
And the Navi'im is the prophets, and the Ketuvim is the writings. So T-E-N-K, Tanakh, is what the abbreviation stands for.
And what is the writings? What's the word for writings?
N-E-V-I-I-M.
Nevi.
That's the prophets.
Yes. And the word for the writings is K-E-T-U-V-I-N. Now-
Ketuvim.
Yeah. Now, the Torah itself is broken up into 3 things. It's the 5 books. And number 2, it is all the Tanakh. Number 3, it is all the Tanakh and the oral. And the oral. So, okay. Now, on. The lights that emanate from the nose actually is the same light that comes from the ears. After all, light is light at the Ein Sof level. The only difference is the manner in which it is revealed in creation. What makes the difference is not the essence of the light, but rather the place where it becomes manifest. On the human face, the nose is lower than the ears. Therefore, in the realm of Kabbalistic metaphors, the supernal nose, symbolically speaking, is on a lower level than the ears, than the supernal ears. The Kabbalists have never made it a secret that the heart, symbolized by the nose, is considered subservient to the head. The relationship of intellect and emotions is explained by the relationship of the ears of the nose of Ak. Here, Ak, we are speaking about the initial and ultimate origins of these aspects that will later become known as the head and the heart. The difference between them is explained in an interesting, usual, highly metaphorical way. We have learned that the light that emanates from the ears emanates from the hay. I wrote the hay right up here. Which, as we have said, is actually formed by the letters Dalet and Vav. Right? Rabbi Chaim Vital, which teaches us that the Dalet aspect of the hay is the most prominent manifest in the light of the ears. The Dalet's numerical value is equal to 4. It is in the ear that we have initially had the ability to differentiate the name Yud-Hey, Vav-Hey, 4. And Asmab, Absag, and thus the Dalet 4 is the differentiation, is a tool of the intellect to use to understand the order of creation. If you did not learn anything today, you must learn the one thing, that through the ears, you can only understand Yud Hey Vav Hey.
Not through the eyes. You can't read it.
You can't read it. You've got to hear it. Now, therefore, differentiation begins in the ears, and this is the source that goes to the mind, which is Sog of Sog. Here in the nose, the smaller Vav of the Hey is more prominent. So basically, what he's saying is, if you look up here at my Hey, you have a Daled and a Vav, and if you take the smaller part of Vav there, of this Hey, is actually what is the nose, making up the nose. These into this only here in the nose, the Vav, numerical value of 6, becomes 6 separate alepphs. These 6 individual alepphs gives rise to the 6 sphirot. That's why we have 6 sphirot of the Ma of the heart. That's why there's 6, because the Vav makes 6 alepphs there. Now, why? Little question. What is the first letter of the alphabet?
Alphabet.
Yeah, what's the first letter of the alphabet?
Aleph.
Then why does Bereshit begin with the bet, not the aleph? Because
Adman was
because Ah always stays out. It always starts at Bina Bereshit.
Why?
Because that stays elevated.
Because that's him,
That's him. Yeah,
and it's hidden.
it's hidden. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So, I just threw that in there.
As
on
a
the-
freebie for tonight?
That's a freebie. That's on the first page of that book.
We don't have to buy the book.
This explains why emotion, because Ma's the heart, this explains why emotion, uncontrolled by the mind, is always turbulent. In other words, if you just go with your heart, it's always chaotic. But if you take your emotion and you think about it and you make consciousness of it, it has order. The 6 Sphirot, as we have learned, exist in 3 columns: the right, the left, and the center, which represent the forces of expansion, contraction, and alignment. Expansion, contraction, and alignment. So, expansion is always male. Contraction is always female, because a female has contractions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then the balance or the alignment is always the middle Teferet. So what he's talking about here is Hasidim, Gevurot, and Teferet. Thought must traverse this path before it can become action. One must learn how much is not enough, more than enough, and how much is just right. This is a state of balance, the oscillation between the sides.
Is that what alignment is, balance? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Only then will balance be naturally found, as above, so below. Thus, here in the nose of Ak, the very small Vav of the Hay breaks up into individual olives to manifest the course of movement naturally inherent within the realm of the heart. Thus, the nose of Ak is the Ma of the Sog. So, right here, we have Sog of Sog, and this is the Ma of Sog. So, as it comes out of the nose, I drew a little deal coming down here, and I tried to make sure you could see all these were touching to create a kudim. So out of the ears and out of the nose. still again, this side is makif, this side is pinimi. We're always going to have body, soul. Soul is always from the feminine side.
Did you say the ma was the nose?
Ma was the nose, which is considered the heart.
Which is considered the heart, which is considered a
The six. It's the valve.
It's the valve.
Ma's the valve.
The makif on the right and one on the left?
Pinimi. I wrote it there in the blue. You see it there in the blue on your
It
deal?
doesn't show.
It doesn't show?
Anyways, I can't even see the thing. Oh, okay.
Look on your.
Oh, okay. No, I'm looking at the other two coming out of
These
the
two?
nose.
No, I didn't write them in there.
What are they?
It's the same. It's always makif on the right and always pinimi on the left.
Oh.
Because it's always male on the right and female on the
I
left.
understand that, but I didn't know it was the same
Yeah,
words.
yeah. It's always gonna. It's always or means light. Makif, pinimi. This is the surrounding light. Makif means to surround. Pinimi is inner. Means inner light. So it's always the surrounding light and then the light that fills it. The outer shell and the inner shell. Abraham, Sarah. Okay. Now, I'm gonna try to make this as easy as possible, but it's kind of difficult. So, the light of the mouth. All right. Hold on here. Thus, the nose of Ak, is the Ma of Sog. The Ma of Sog. Of the Tananim of Sog, of Ak. In other words, it contains the Tanta, everything in it, the sound, the Tananim. It contains all the sound. Because Tanami is the T in Tanta. Like with the ears, however, the lights of the nose are not completely joined, as we discussed. These are two nostrils, right and left. Even the emotional motives of the heart do not alone manifest in concrete form. Here again, as with the light of the ears, the right nostril emanates the makif, which will congeal into an aspect of a vessel. And the left nostril emanates the pinimi, which will become the inner life force. Again, in order for the light to completely unite and create the initial aspect of united a body and a soul, a light and a vessel, a third and final descent of the light is necessary. From the nose of the light of Ak emanates downward, and it is revealed in the mouth. So, even though he had done the ears and the nose, it was still unstable, and he had to do the mouth. This symbolic place is where the initial unity of all 10 spherotes takes place, where light and vessel become one. The light of the mouth. Now we're studying the light of the mouth, the light of Ben. The light of the mouth of Ak is Ben of the Tananim of Sag. The sound of, this is the Tananim, the T, the sound of understanding. Understanding at that level has a sound. Here in the mouth, the two aspects, the Or Makif, oh, right here. Well, see, you see this brown I drew? I tried to draw it like a tongue, so you could tell it was the mouth. But I drew a dotted line because they're connected. So this side is Makif again, and this side is Pinimi. All right? Same thing. What we're trying to do is make sense on the board of something that's very complicated, and so don't let it Don't let it
Throw you.
discourage you. No. The light that now emanates from the mouth of Og is the first time the 10 spheroids have emanated together. Here in the mouth, this initial union of the spheroid is marked by a unique occurrence. Instead of how things will appear later, here in the mouth, all 10 spheroid emanate together within one vessel. While all 10 aspects of light are intact and unique, they still all share a single vessel. This single vessel squeezes these 10 spheroid together and does not enable them to manifest their full individuality. Because the light of the mouth is bound together in one single vessel, because there's only one hole the mouth has, this is the place called Alam Ha-Akudim, the world of the bound spheroid. The light of the mouth comes forth as the breath of God. All 10 spheroid emanate combined as one, contracted and limited in their ability of movement. Nonetheless, they are still united as one. For the first time, manifesting a concentric whole of light and vessel, soul and body, force and form. What is important to remember about the light emanating from the mouth is that it is the bin of Sog. Remember, the name bin correlates the life force of God in physical creation. If you'll look over here on the side over here, the spiritual realm, God's retaining that. He starts with the Sog. He creates the intellectual realm of Akudim. Then he creates the emotional realm of Akudim. Finally, he's creating the physical realm of Akudim. That's what he's doing. All right? So we have the spiritual, the intellectual, the emotional, and the physical. And these lights are coming out of Adam Kadmon to create a whole new realm of universe. This is actually a universe. The light of the mouth, therefore, becomes the essential origins of everything that will eventually exist in a form. Alright. Now, even though the light of the mouth succeeded in uniting the aspects of Or Pinimi and Or Makif, thus unifying the light within the vessel, there still needed to be further rectification. What he's saying is, these are separate, these are separate. The first time that the light emanated out as one thing was in Ben. But he's saying here, there's still a problem. There still needs to be some fixing. The problem was that the force of Or Makif and Or Panim were completely equal. Force and form, body and soul, light, vessel, they were all equal and balanced. As such, the vessel was not strong enough to maintain its integrity to contain the light. For the light of the mouth still contained the 10 spheroid in one vessel. In other words, there was at this stage no difference between cosmic forces. Mercy, severity, balance, light, darkness, and everything else that now exists, all were combined in this one area. And so what God, everything that He created, light, darkness, up, down, left, right, you couldn't tell the difference in it. It was all in one pile. Because the light of Ben, the Makif, and the Pinimi were of equal value. So, what he has to do is start separating it. And that's what he does next.
is this true or not? The emanations that come from the mouth have no sound without ears. Is that true?
Well, if you've ever heard a deaf person talk, they don't make any sense. It's just noise. Because they can't hear.
It's the ears that give the differential understanding of what's coming out of the mouth.
That's why the Shema, hear, O Israel. That's why hearing the Torah is so important. Because it gets into your intellect. When you hear, it goes into the intellectual realm. And then, once you know it in your intellectual realm, it becomes a feeling
In your heart.
in your heart. And then, it changes your physical reality. Okay? We'll go on. For the light of the mouth is contained, the steering sphere is one vessel, blah, 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 blah. Without stability, the relationship between force of or pinini or the form of or makif could not be substantiated. A rectification and a rebalance had to occur. The or pinini and the or makif would have to be separated yet once more in order to create stability. This is similar to the development of consciousness of a child. A few months, when a newborn comes out, everything seems like it's in his world. He touches a hot pad, and everything is the same. You know, he puts everything in his mouth because everything has to go to Ben. He just came from Ben. Everything is oral. You know, he puts his hands in his mouth, his feet in his mouth. You know, he'd put his toe in his mouth if he could fit it. Everything is oral. Everything, that's where everything is. Nothing is separated out. Oh, I can't touch that. Oh, that doesn't go in my mouth. Oh, that, you know. So a child is going through the expansions just like God's creating in this expansive manner.
You said it just came from Ben.
Well,
and Ben is the physical realm.
well,
I see down there.
Ben, Malchut, Yesod, the reproductive system. Ben's the baby. You know, he's the whole life cycle creation will fit in this formula. All of it. Father, mother, you know, making the form, making the inner body. You know, there's a book, Body and Soul. If you ever read it, it'll say from the father he gets his hair, his skin, his this, his that. From his mother he gets his kidney, his, you know, and how it takes or makif or pinimi to make a baby. All right, that's the male light, the feminine light, that type of deal. The outer, it's more outer light, inner light. All right, but I'm just using that metaphorically to paint the picture here. In order to make the separation of the 10 sferot within one vessel emanating from the mouth, the first vessel itself had to become established and firmly secure. Only in this way is this example, could the other vessels that be formed to continue the process of creation. Therefore, Adam Kadmon follows in the proverbial footsteps of the Ein Sof and performs Tzimtzum. This expansion and contraction, which is all he created a whole universe that we are in the middle of. In this case, Adam Kadmon inhales and draws back into himself the light that emanates from his mouth. So what I did right here, you see this little arrow? This is the light of Ben going back. So I drew a big line on Pinimi and a little line on Malkif. See, I wrote an M here for Malkif, a M here for Malkif, a P here for Pinimi, and a P here for Pinimi, and then I wrote the words out there. So what my deal is now is he is drawing back this light, just like the Or Ein Sof did. And remember, the Or Ein Sof left Reshimu, the residue of light, Adam Kadmon did the same thing. Because once he left that residue of light, it could congeal and form a creation. And then when his light entered back into it, it was able to sustain the creation. So, here we go. In this case, Adam Kadmon inhales back into himself the light that emanated from his mouth. When Adam Kadmon inhaled the light back into himself, he only withdrew the Penimi. The Or Makif, however, remained in its place. Without the Or Penimi within it, the Or Makif was left as a body without a soul. The state enabled the Makif to quickly solidify, and the vessel of the mouth became stable. Now, if the Or Penimi was to return as it was originally, the situation would revert and nothing would be changed, nothing would be resolved, it would continue as it was. Therefore, the light that returns into the vessel had to be altered really slightly. You mean wait on you, Russell?
No, go keep on. I'll be right back.
Okay. An important point necessary to mention is how the light of the mouth emanated in the first place, as well as here in the second place. Normally, the revelation of the Spirit emanates from the top, from Keter, down to Malchut. Russell needs to hear this. This is huge. Everybody, take 5. Because this tells us why our Sphirot is in the order it's in today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is crucial.
Mm-hmm. How much further are you going?
15, 20 minutes probably.
Alrighty.
Where are you going to the restroom?
No, I'm just standing. My back hurts.
Mine does too. I wonder if I could stop this for a second. You know how to put this on
Pause.
on pause?
Yeah. Push the button.